So if you're looking to make butter homemade without getting it from the store, you don't have a butter churner, all I have is an old-fashioned mixer. I have dairy pure heavy whipping cream and coarse sea salt. I just put a little coarse sea salt in here. You got to do this for some time. This is about 10 minutes in right now. So about 10 minutes in, it's starting to almost turn into a whipped cream. I'll update you once it starts to get, not to the butter form, but when it starts to break apart a little bit. Now at about the 15-16 minute mark, you start to get more of a consistency like this. So now we're starting to get into like the whipped cream. So if you wanted to make whipped cream for like a party and you don't want to have, you know, store-bought, get the heavy whipping cream and just do this for about 15 to 17 minutes. And you start to get a whipped cream-like texture. I'll show you in a couple minutes when we get to about the 20 to 22 minute mark how it starts to kind of break down more in like a waxy form, and you'll start to lose the thickness and the water will start going to the bottom, or the buttermilk will start. So if you want buttermilk too, you can do this with the butter, and then as that milky substance comes from the butter, you can have buttermilk too for like your chicken and things like that. So I'm actually going to save it this time so I have homemade buttermilk, and I'll show you that as part of the process as well. So I'll be back in a couple minutes. Now we are at about 20 minutes, and you see how it looks more like a whipped cream now? Now we've got more like a whipped cream. If you want to have it for a party, you could certainly have the whipped cream. And in about 5 to 7 minutes, I'll show you once we start getting that wax-like substance. Now it's getting a little more like whipped cream, a little harder to stir, but you got to be very consistent for at least, with this I use the whole carton or half gallon or whatever it is in there that I showed you, the whole thing to make the butter. So take some time. So I'll show you in a few more minutes when it starts to get harder. This is like the whipped cream you would want for like your desserts or whatever right now. So remember that. Heavy whipping cream, and just take a little bit of time. You don't need to buy it from the store with all the BS. Make it yourself. Just use some heavy whipping cream. There's so many things you can make by yourself. Now at 25 minutes, you've got a perfect whipped cream. Just beautiful. So if you need a whipped cream for the birthday cake or the dessert, strawberry and shortcake maybe, this is how you do it. Heavy whipping cream. 25 minutes later, you get a nice consistency like this. And then you continue on. I'll let you see the next step right before it gets into the actual butter. Now we're at about 27 to 28 minutes, and you see it's getting very thick. This is almost the spot now where it starts to separate. It's almost like a frosting now instead of a whipped cream. Now it's starting to get ready to separate, and it's going to start making little bits of butter here. But I might have to come back in a couple minutes because it takes time. And this is the largest, you know, I did a pretty large bowl, but you're going to start to see it start to transfer right before your very eyes. And it's the first time I ever did it, I was like, holy moly, it tastes just like butter. And it's like, well, yeah, it is butter. But it's still a fascinating process because you literally get to watch it go from, you know, like a heavy whipping cream to a whipped cream. It's almost like a frosting. And now you can see how it almost looks like butter, melted butter now? You're getting into that butter now. And I'm going to turn it up as high as that's as high as I can go. But you see what's happening here? Almost looks like a margarine style butter, even though you should never eat margarine, but it's that kind of consistency right now. So you could kind of have this like a country spread right now. So if you like your butter creamy, nobody's stopping you, I suppose, from eating it like this. But I'm gonna have to use my other hand. But you see what's happening here. So I'll show you again once it starts to show the form of butter. So now we're at 32 minutes. And as you can see, it's more of like a thicker substance. It's almost like a country spread butter now. After this process, in about 4 to 5 minutes, I'll show you again. This is going to end up looking more like a waxy substance, and you'll start seeing the liquid in the middle of in the bowl. So now we're at the 48-minute mark. You see how it's starting to chunk up a little bit? This is the separation stage. It's the funnest part. I'll show you in a couple minutes, but this is where it literally goes from this, and you start to actually see your butter. So now it's getting thicker. I need to use both hands because it's hard to keep in place. But this is when it gets very fun. I'll be back shortly. Okay, now this is the 50-minute stage. It starts to go quickly now. See how we got this fluid now building up? That's buttermilk. So if you cook chicken If you want to use it for like I like to use it for chicken, but you have buttermilk here. So if you ever buy buttermilk from the store, save this. So put it into like a container. So I'll show you. So now after 52 minutes, or 53 minutes, say I got the butter, I put some stuff in here. That's the buttermilk. So you're going to keep getting that. So save that, and you can cook it for like chicken or anything you use buttermilk for. See, I've got more in the bottom. You're going to get a lot of this. It's going to be plentiful as the butter goes, but see how hard it is now? So cool, though. I'll inform you in just a minute, but I got to get some of this buttermilk, and I'll show you the next. And now after 56 minutes, you've got butter that we have to form now, like keep draining. I'll show you after it's formed, but you've got a healthy amount of buttermilk, too. You can make your chicken. You don't have to buy it from the store. So you just drain it out. You'll see it. It just drains out. That's it. That's all you got to do. But look at all that butter. Took a lot of work. Most people won't do it because it took, 54 minutes so far. But I'll show you the next step after I form it real quick. So now after 1 hour, I've now formed it. And you can do it how you want. Some people say it, but I do it like this because you're going to have to drain it. My suggestion is you put it in the fridge overnight, put something over it to cover it, and then every so often just drain the liquid that comes out. It's buttermilk, so save it. So I've got a bunch of buttermilk here that I can use for chicken and seasoning, or for baking and stuff like that. And then there's your butter. 1 hour, and it looks like that. So that's the steps. That's 60 minutes of whisking, forming, and pouring the buttermilk. Now it's got to go in the fridge. And I like to keep it overnight and just drain the buttermilk out. And that's without, having a butter churner. That's just a whisk and doing it the old-fashioned way. And all you need is the heavy whipping cream and then the coarse sea salt. That's it. And then you can get the buttermilk. You can do whipped cream in the process as well on the way. But that's how it looks.